towards those voters that are undecided at this point. Are there any more voters like that? Just kind of, anyway, I'm going to listen in, kind of pause, react, maybe talk about it as he goes here. This is the speech where he introduced gold MAGA, if you remember black MAGA, or no, sorry, dark MAGA, when he talked about it when he came out on stage with Trump the first time. Now he's bringing out gold MAGA, so that's what you see here on the screen is him as the gold guy. But let's get going with Elon. AI is giving me some difficulties, so we don't have AI to do some quick fact checks on. Maybe I have the text version, but the voice version is not quite there at the moment. So anyway, let's get going and kind of listen into what he's talking about. I appreciate the likes, y'all.
All right, so let's see. What should I say? SpaceX does rock. Indeed. Actually, I'm pretty excited about the possibility of SpaceX, and just generally becoming a spacefaring civilization, going beyond where we went in the past with where we went to the moon. It's crazy that we went to the moon.
So they hit him with one of his favorite topics, right? Something that he's really excited about and innovating, and getting a Mars mission going. The moon, getting a Mars mission going. The moon's first step. I think he needs to kind of have that be like another launching point to get there, and then head on out to Mars. But Harris does whatever her handlers tell her to do. It's the funny thing is it's the same handlers for Biden, right? I don't think that crew ever changed. But then what does that mean? Handlers, are they still folks that are pulling strings? I don't know. We'll see. Let's keep listening to what Elon's going to talk about. But it looks like he's getting sidetracked a little bit right off the bat. Somebody said SpaceX rocks, and of course that'll get him going.
Went to the moon, and a lot of people think we didn't go to the moon, but
yeah,
the Soviets would have called us out on that one if we hadn't gone to the moon. They would have called bullshit on that one, 100%. But yeah, we need to go back. We should not just go back to the moon. We should have a moon base.
There you go. That's what I was talking about.
Like moon base alpha, like an actual base with like a science station. That'd be sick, And I think we want to become a multi-planet species and be out there among the stars. We want to make Starfleet real, So that like if you should be able to go to Mars if you want to go to Mars. It'd be like amazing, Well, it'll take 6 months. So Mars is far. But we can do it. We can create a base on Mars and ultimately build a city on Mars and make life multiplanetary. I think that would be super cool. Life can't just be about solving one miserable problem after another. There have to be things that inspire you, that excite you about the future, that you look forward to. You're like, wow, that's going to be cool. And I think being a spacefaring civilization and having a city on Mars and going out there exploring the moons of Jupiter and ultimately getting to other star systems would be incredibly exciting. And something you're like, wow, you really look forward to that. That'd be incredible. So, go out there and find maybe...
All right, I'm going to have to skip through a little bit so he gets to the meat on election-related content here. He's at America PAC here in Philadelphia.
Never gone before.
But let's keep going. Let's zip through a little bit.
We need to... I think we definitely need to get President Trump reelected. There
we go. That's the first step. And folks, my neighborhood just had impromptu Trump parade. Cars lining up, flags everywhere. They just started going in circles. I just caught a couple of quick clips. I'll have to see if any of it's presentable, and I'll post. But more people than you realize it. A ton of people off my block just kind of rolled out with all their Trump gear, but nobody's showing it. It's just kind of like a quiet thing.
that is I think incredibly important. I mean, I think we don't. I think America is great, but we want to be, and we don't want like the Apollo program to be our high watermark. We want to do great things in America.
Hey, LBJ, thanks for the comment. That's what I'm wondering about myself is there's so many people I think that are fixed in the position they're taking and who they're voting for. How many are really at this point undecideds? And if they are undecided, what would influence them? You've seen some of them show up on TV, and I don't know, it seems a little more contrived. Like they're going to listen to either candidate, and at the end of the speech or at the end of a town hall event, they're going to tell you if they're convinced or not. Those sorts of things seem a little contrived to me. But how many people are actually undecided at this point that are going out there to vote? And I assume there is, at minimum, at least a few percentage points out there. And that's pretty important in some of these swing states. So somebody like Elon coming out there, how much of an influence does that have? There's a celebrity aspect to it. There's, him kind of being such a successful entrepreneur or successful innovator. Does that come into the mix for him? So that's what I'm looking at. And, he may not be reaching a new audience. I mean, coming into America PAC, these are people that already have, locked in their votes for Trump, more or less. But did anybody come out that, maybe just heard Elon's come around, they're going to listen to him speak? Is that going to energize them? Or will these clips on social media help Trump out, seeing Elon, really kind of driving things home for him in a way? But good thought, though, LBJ.
And I think we also want to preserve what has made America great. Things like freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. These things in the Constitution that are actually, important.
All right, I'm going to keep playing in a sec, but LBJ, it's funny to me that for quite some time, Elon was like the darling of the left with his electric cars, and I mean, they did anything they could for him. And then overnight, things flip. Starting with the X platform, and you go down the list from there. But that dynamic's very interesting to me, is how that all unfolded, right? I feel like the same thing existed for Trump, where at one point everybody liked the guy when he was just a celebrity, and then overnight things flipped.
Yes. So why did they add these amendments to the Constitution? It was because in the places that people came from, if you said what you wanted to say, you'd be put in prison or you'd be killed. And they took everyone's guns away so that they couldn't rebel against oppressive government. That's the whole idea behind taking the guns away. So I'm a big believer in the Constitution. Big believer in what makes America great. And then we also need like some obvious things, like we need actual secure borders. It's like
he's jumping into this pretty quick.
You're not a country if you don't have like a border. Like it's like, what does it even mean to be a country at that point? And I went to the border just to see for myself what it was like, and it's like World War Z at the border. Like this is crazy, man. So obviously I'm in favor of immigrants that the insane government spending is driving the country into bankruptcy. Just like a person, if you spend too much, eventually you go bankrupt. The federal debt's growing by $1 trillion every 3 months. Our defense budget dollars, but the interest that we owe on the debt is now higher than the defense budget, over $1 trillion and growing. This is not sustainable. So we have to do something about that, or the country's going to go bankrupt. So that's an essential thing too. So that's why we need the
Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that.
DOGE. That's on a brass plaque on a desk. It's going to be amazing. So, yeah, exactly. As people were saying, it's just like it's common sense stuff, and you know, America really just needs to remain the land of opportunity, the land where your success is a function of how hard you work and your talent. Like if you're talented and hardworking, that should be the only thing that determines whether you're successful. That's it. And America is also supposed to be the land of freedom. That means personal freedom. Like the government should not be imposing all these rules on people, and it's like yeah. So government overreach is not cool. Freedom. Yeah, exactly. Twitter files. I mean, it was just nutty. People don't realize just how much government involvement there is in the media, and like how much the government influences the media. I mean, it's crazy how you'll see in fact, I think like whoever's manipulating the media should mix it up a bit because they're really not doing a great job. When they was a week before the debate between Biden and Trump, and everyone was on the media was saying Biden was sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack. I mean, like you should mix it up a little. Get a thesaurus. Okay. The NBC media puppets were just all saying exactly the same thing. So, it's just kind of strange that, and like, do they all just get the same memo at the same time? I don't know. Where does it come in? Is on the? I want to see the group text. Okay, like, is there like an email copy list or what? Everyone say the same thing at the same time. Yeah, just total puppets. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, totally. So,
hey, thanks for the likes.
Well, let's see. Like,
they keep
what I
some of these likes, folks. I want to start trending
is when
on
people are able
the
to
charts. Maybe
ask
someday.
questions or make comments.
But
and
hoping to get more than my last.
If anybody wants to,
I appreciate it, y'all.
Try to keep the comments like reasonably short.
Hey, Mark Cuban and Elon Musk, I saw that in there. That would actually be a good debate if they could get those two, in the same place at the same time, and just allow them to have, an open discussion and debate all the points. That would be actually pretty fascinating to me.
Any monologue should be ideally kept to less than a minute. So, but just fire away, and I'll try to answer questions and respond to comments and.
Can you jump the line?
Well, yeah, sure. So. Hi.
My question is, what makes you so interested in politics now? Why is this so important to you?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, don't bring the mic that close. Whoa. Yeah, the question is why politics now and versus in the past I really have not been meaningfully involved in politics. So the reason is that I think we're at a crossroads. This time I think we're at a crossroads. A fork in the road of destiny. What I see happening under the sort of Biden and Kamala administration is a level of sort of government overreach and manipulation that is extremely troubling. And I also see really a deliberate attempt to import as many people as possible into swing states like Pennsylvania.
Okay, now this is a very important one that people don't always hear out. They tune this part out. I'm going to hopefully be able to run this whole thing straight through, because I think he's going to start talking about how the border issues are really leading towards electoral college challenges. going forward. And this is all leading up as part of, a massive kind of resetting of which states have, how many electoral votes associated with them. But let's listen in.
In order to ensure that there is a permanent one state, that America becomes a permanent one-party state. I mean, the numbers are truly staggering, and the sort of fake legacy media doesn't report on them. The only reason anyone knows about it is if you're on the X platform. But like it's crazy. But I mean, you're seeing like basically increases. This is from the government website, by the way, which is run by Democrats. So, like you're seeing like in some cases like 700% increases in the past 3.5 years in illegals in swing states. What a coincidence! And when you're talking about elections that are won or lost by 10 or 20,000 votes, and then you bring in 200,000 people, and then you put them on the fast track to citizenship. This is without considering any cheating. This is legalized. If that happens over the next 4 years, there will be no swing states. They're importing voters. I think that's obvious to anyone who looks, and we will have a situation like we have in California, where it's a one-party state. California is a super majority Dem state, and so it's one-party rule. And if you have one-party rule, that's not a democracy. So I think either action is taken now. If there was another 4 years and it's really like pointless to even sort of talk about Kamala. Kamala is just a puppet of a larger machine. If the machine, I'll call it the machine, is able to run for another 4 years, there will not be any meaningful elections in the future, just like there aren't in California, and all of America will be.
For Republicans, like take Louisiana for an example, they've had senators that have been Democrats for a considerable amount of time, Mary Landrieu, and of course they've had, my favorite, Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana. He's a Republican, of course, but they've had governors recently that have been Democrats. The mayors of New Orleans, for as long as I can remember, have all been Democrats. So you see, it's just as, the people will it from one election to the next. Bobby Jindal, of course, was a Republican governor out there. And you look at the House races across the board, and they all kind of vary depending on what part of the state you're in. California has become much more unitary than most of the other states in that same regard, from local to congressional seats, all the way through the governorship. It would, at this point in time, I don't know what it would take for the governor to become a Republican in California now. It's really shifted from a cultural standpoint and from a principle and value standpoint as well. And this is coming from someone who grew up in California.
Fornicated.
That was an interesting one.
Not in a good way. Yeah. Californicated. Ouch. So we don't want that would be a bad situation. In fact, it will actually be worse than California. The reason it'll be worse than California is the one thing that holds California back from being even worse than it is that people can move out of California and still be in America. Now, what happens when there's no place to move? It'll be way worse in California. That's why I think, yeah, exactly. Well, and speaking of Mars, like what we're seeing, with SpaceX, Tesla, and whatnot, is that the sort of regulatory oppression year after year is worse and worse. And there's more regulatory agencies created every year, more rules and regulations every year, until eventually everything is illegal. We had our rocket sitting on the pad for 2 months, ready to fly. How is it possible that SpaceX could build a gigantic rocket faster than the government could move paper from one desk to another?
I'm just skipping through a little bit, guys.
have deregulation and have sensible regulation, then Mars will be impossible. We will be forever confined to Earth. So,
Hey, so Luigi says Robin Hood economics isn't a thing. So when you want to increase taxes on everybody, like rescind the Trump tax cuts, that's one action. 25% unrealized capital gains tax, that's another action of taking money from one group, and who knows where you probably put it in your pocket. You're not really going to redistribute. You're going to increase the capital gains tax 44.6%. You are going to kind of cut that child tax credit down to only $6,000 over the lifetime of a child instead of being $18,000. It's $2,000 a year right now, isn't it? So it's quite a bit more than that, right? They're kind of like scamming you on that one too. There's so many of these different steps along the way, right? And then there's additional taxes that may be incurred because of electric car mandates and everything else. Where are those taxes going to be taken, and where are they going to be given? It's Robin Hood economics. And say they take $1 million from the wealthy, what percentage of that is actually going to go to the common good of the general population? I'd venture to say it's going to be less than 0.1%. I mean, it's going to be minuscule. The rest of it's going to go through these non-government organizations, nonprofits, and they're going to kind of run through a myriad of accounts and all these types of schemes and land into another wealthy person's pocket, probably the one that donated to the Democrats. So it's Robin Hood economics. Like, you want to punish somebody. I mean, this is all it is. You hear Kamala talk about it all the time. I'm going to hold them accountable, right? You know, they've been holding you down. We're going to get them. Who's them? Who's them? They're talking about people that are doing marginally better than you, maybe people that are doing very much better than you. But what does that actually do? They'll take retribution on the rich for you. And then what? So they took their tax money away and then they sent it overseas to foreign aid. Did that really benefit you? What are they going to do with all that money? I don't trust them. Let that stay with those folks. I mean, nobody wants to keep money in cash. I think that's the disconnect people have here. Nobody's hoarding cash. They put it into assets and try to continue to grow those assets and innovate. And that's how capitalism works. So this Robin Hood economics, yeah, I'm terming it, but that's what's happening here. And it's to no end, right? There's a greater dependence being created on government, and that's what they're counting on, is for that to perpetually continue. In fact, modern monetary theory is something that's been out there that they're kind of pushing now. Says it's okay to print as much as you want because you're the central government, you have access to the currency, print as much as you want, no big deal. You control inflation by increasing taxes, which I'm scratching my head about because they're saying that'll reduce demand, but it's actually demand goes away. You know, the demand coming from people go away, and the government sets forward the priorities of demand, right? Technically speaking. Or it siphons off into, a given wealthy donor's pocketbook. So I don't exactly see that demand collapse that they're kind of articulating in that. But you cannot go over, massive amounts of debt like we are now. It's unsustainable, and the government taking dollars out of people's hands is not really an anti-inflationary tact. Somebody's saying the rich need to pay low tax to increase the wealth of the poor and the middle class. It works. I like the facetiousness in that comment. Can't wait for some peace. Vote anything but red. Now we're living under Trump's. Yeah, we are. And so here's the story of that, okay? So a lot of people say like, oh, that was only a tax cut for billionaires, right? If you're making $30,000 a year and you're a married couple, right? The percentage of the tax has gone down, say from 15 to 12 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's not very much, but guess what else he did? He did more steps than that. The standard deduction has more than doubled. It's like $29,000 now. So if somebody's making $30,000, you add in earned income credit, so forth, you have no tax liability. If you're at the bottom end of things, there's none. That didn't exist for somebody like that. It's a 10% raise, basically, overnight. That's going to go away once Trump's tax code is repealed or expires. And you start going up from there, up to 60,000, 90,000, and you can see the similar effect, right? And then you have a lot of people on Democrat side saying, oh, well, you can't deduct your property taxes anymore. He's scamming us. It's capped at $10,000. On average, property tax is about 1%, which means your home value has to be over $1 million for you to even hit that cap. So if folks are really, upset about that, like, I mean, I live in a high property income or property tax state, right? Texas had, a lot of the areas in it, a lot of the counties have very high property taxes. Mine's almost 3%. So, yeah, it stinks for me, but for a lot of folks, they're not even going to hit that mark. The vast majority of people around the nation, that's not even going to matter to them. But for people at the lower end, they're going to get hit right away. Their paychecks are going to start showing, pretty good deductions out of that once this tax code expires. Let's keep going.
I definitely think that's a major is being so heavily regulated that we are confined to Earth forever, and that would be a sad eulogy. And
I'm going to skip a little bit.
They had the rocket and everything. So I guess the short answer is I think this is incredibly important. That ironically, there's a lot of people on the Dem side that call Trump a threat to democracy. I think, in fact, they are the threat to democracy. Thank you.
What is that? Hi, Elon. I want to thank you for coming. I'm from Deep Blue, Northeast Philadelphia, and I just want to say thank you for all you've been doing, your contributions. And my question is, did you expect the impact that buying X would have on the world and the United States, free speech, even into the America PAC movement?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason I didn't realize it would have as big of an impact as it's come to have. But the reason I felt that it was important to acquire Twitter was because I could feel the walls closing in. It was outrageous that they suspended the account of a sitting president. I mean that's insane. And I think it was only a matter of time before they suspended my account.
All right, Betty. So I need to publish my full kind of reaction live that I had. We listened in a couple nights ago to the Kamala Harris Fox interview. Let me read you this. She did the Fox interview because she ain't afraid of no fool. She stood up to the gangsters he wasn't. I think Kamala did very poorly. Outside of Democrat news networks, that's pretty universally accepted. And even within some Democrat news networks, they were cringing. Like, you got to think about it, though. What benefit is it for Kamala to go in and do that interview? Why would you want to do that this close to the end of the election cycle? What benefit does that have to you? The primary audience is conservative. You're not really going to move that needle, right? If anything, I would say MSNBC is very liberal. Fox is much more conservative. Is CNN in the middle? I don't know. It probably isn't. But, folks that are in the middle, that's not where they're watching their news necessarily, right? So you have Harker, against Brett Baer. Why do that? There's really nothing to gain unless you have internal polling, you have internal metrics that are kind of giving that impression that things are not going as well as you think. And you really need to try to hit a few home runs, right? Knock something out of the park to really get back on track. Was this, their Hail Mary, what they're trying to do on Fox News? And, she was given some stock statements to kind of come back with if something got brought up. But anyway, I don't see any other simple reason as to why you would want to do that interview other than you're desperately trying to, get some sort of a massive victory or, get those sound bites to hit the news cycle, which did not work out for her. Okay, hold on. That big tax thing, people are making less this year. We'll be paying more tax. Yeah, if the Trump tax cuts expire, everybody's going to pay more taxes, not just folks under 200,000. Okay, nice touch, nice touch. That was really, that was really pleasant. Interviews didn't go well. You can see the polls. Musk is,
frankly. You know, and for sure, given the stuff I've said lately, they would have suspended me 6 weeks of Sunday. So, you know, I mean, it really, Twitter and well, pretty much all the social media companies and Google and everyone are controlled by far-left activists. That's the truth of it. You know, and so then how do you know what's real when it's all filtered through a far-left San Francisco Berkeley lens? You know, they just manipulate the truth constantly. You can't even find the truth if you Google it, because Google's, you know, put it on page 6. And I mean, you know, I don't want to pick on Google too much. I mean, I have a lot of friends there, but, you know, it's very easy to tweak the results, because, you know, like the joke goes like, what's the best place to hide a dead body? Well, second place are Google search results, because nobody ever goes there. So you don't really have to, in order to, you know, hide information, you don't have to delete it. You just move it to the second page, and it's just people don't go there.
My Google too.
Yeah, that would be tough. That's a tricky one. But hey, at least there's one place where you can find out what's actually going on, what's real, and that's the X platform. And I want to say, like, you know, we're very rigorous on the X platform about being a fair playing field, a level playing field, being fair to all sides. There's not a single account on the left that's been suppressed. Not one. No suspensions, nothing. I believe in being fair. You know, and once in a while we do get like a request for something.
Betty, Musk has been a U.S. citizen since the early 2000s. Just for clarification.
The right, that's, you know, we would be slightly censorious, and we're like, nope, we're not going to do that. So, you know, we're rigorous about being fair. Unlike the prior regime, we are actually fair, and we want both sides to say their piece, and to let there be a free debate, and let the marketplace of ideas, you know, let the best ideas win, and that's the right thing to do.
Hello, Elon. As an IT guy of 26 years, I think one of the smartest things you did was firing most of the Twitter staff.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about corruption in the election systems, in the DOJ and judicial system. I personally think a lot of that is because of blackmail data stored on government servers. I strongly feel that if we can't control the information that is stored by the three-letter agencies, we will never get control of the country. What are your ideas on things Trump can do to drain the swamp without being overwhelmed by their dirty tricks?
Well, making as much information as possible public, available to the public, so that you can see what's going on. There's like, you know, I mean, I do have a top secret clearance, but I have to say, like, most of the stuff that I'm aware of in top secret, like the reason to keep it top secret is because it's so boring. Yeah, I mean, so, but I think like the strong bias with respect to government information should be to make it available to the public. Like, it should be, let's be as transparent as possible, like fully transparent, unless it's like a massive risk to the country, like it's like, you know, we don't want to give like, say, exact instructions on how to make a nuclear bomb or something like that, you know, but unless there's a genuine risk to the country, all information in the government should be public. Yeah.
Hi, over here.
Oh, sorry. Hey.
I know I look like the same girl who just asked. I am her
It's hard to
today.
tell because I just hear the speakers, so.
Okay. I am Denise's twin who just asked a question. I'm also from Deep Blue, far northeast Philadelphia in Parkwood. What I would like to ask you is, in applying the same efficiency that you did to removing 80% of the staff at Twitter to the Department of Governmental Efficiency, would you consider hiring Scott Pressler, who is an amazing movement
Absolutely.
For that efficiency?
Yeah.
Hey, so Just Orion said a year ago y'all hated Elon for wanting to make Tesla. Now y'all like him like a god. Brainwashed. I still don't like how Tesla kind of was effectively government funded, so heavily subsidized, mostly through California. I just don't like how that dynamic worked out. They're on the other side of it now, to where the company, is becoming more lean and efficient and on its way. I mean, you see the valuation of it. It's very much on its way. I didn't like how that went, and I still don't. So I know a lot of folks that are in my circles feel the same way. But if you look at it from a pure innovation standpoint and what was created, you can admire that. The economics and the picking and winning of losers and winners, that's the part that I still am not so happy about. I don't like it when that's the way things unfold. I prefer for those types of scenarios to be more market driven. Otherwise, if the government, we actually got lucky that it was Elon that was chosen. Because you look at GM, Ford, a lot of these other car companies, they have not, mass produced an electric vehicle that's as profitable or viable long term.
And I should say, hopefully if this comes to pass, then the Department of Government Efficiency is able to take action. We will reduce a lot of government headcount, but we're going to give, I think, like very long severances, like 2 years or something like that. So look, just go do something else is what we're going to say, and you'll get paid for 2 years.
Hey, Godric, let me take a look.
Paid for 2 years.
Hey, Godric, let me take a look. I'll let you up here. Yeah, I was more listening and trying to watch the chat here on the other screen. But Godric, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you been?
Just fine.
All right. So what's on your mind?
I wanted to comment on the Walls losing the election for Kamala point. It's typical for a follower or someone who's struggling to pick someone less than them, not greater. And that's, I think, what happened with Kamala. She didn't want to pick anybody that would outstand her, so she picked Waltz. Oh, that's an interesting take. So she wouldn't be overshadowed in any way at all. Yeah, like for example, if let's say she picked Elon or someone that's equal to Elon, that was famous and popular, it would outshine her and get her more votes. But she didn't do that. Interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that. And, I always thought it was kind of strange that, a lot of times folks try to balance out the ticket, bring somebody that's, like Trump's old and he brought somebody young, right? Just try to balance things out in some way or whatever. And, I don't know, the extreme, lean towards everything. I don't know, they both kind of fell in the same place. He's from Minnesota, she's from California. Extremely liberal spots. It didn't seem like a recipe to convince swing state voters. I agree. And if you look at the whole campaign in a nutshell, like with perspective, you can see there's issues happening in different places. Like one is her pick. Her pick is not stellar, for one. Like I think Trump's pick was pretty stellar. It really complimented him. And when Trump says Bitcoin, that brings attention. And when he talks to Elon, that brings attention. But with Kamala, getting Obama, causing, disruption and I think dividing more and using these attacks on race, for example, making a race card. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting take. Definitely interesting take. So I take it you're not voting for Kamala? I'm Trump, Republican. Okay. All right. Good deal. Hey, any other closing thoughts? You want me to go down, right? I'm sorry? You want me to?
Uh-oh. You still there?
Sorry. Before I go, I just want to say, I think
I'm not touching the screen. I thought I might have messed you up, but I'm not touching the screen.
I'm sorry. I was getting a call. I think maybe like the tide has switched recently since the Fox interview, and they're going away from Kamala to Trump, the media. I think that's what's happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have a good day.
All right. Appreciate it. You take care. It has been an interesting shift in the polls. I don't trust the polls. At this point, Biden was ahead by a good margin. In the last cycle, Hillary was up 7-ish points or something. I don't know. I don't know what the thing is. Cow, can you make stickers of Trump as a clown too? He paints himself orange. Let me see. This is the best orange one I got. What do you think of that? Betty, where do you get your information? Where's Betty? I think Tim is great. He'll make a great VP. Go ahead. Oh, I am not sure, TJ, where Betty gets her information. Kamala is your president. All right. Well, for that comment, you get a nice sticker of her having an ice cream with Senor Biden. All right. We might fast forward to some other questions that he gets to.
Go and figure out something else to do. It's like the point is not to be cruel or.
But this was interesting, though. If he is going to make the government more efficient, he's going to give 2 years of severance to anybody that is displaced. I think that's really great because that enables quite a bit of time to enter back into the workforce, get retrained, so forth. But anyway,
have people not be able to pay their mortgage or anything. It's just we got to move people. We just have too many people in the government sector, and they could be more productive elsewhere.
Me and my best friend started a company when we were 21 years old. We're going to be the next biggest beef jerky company in the U.S. I promise that.
Did you say beef jerky company?
But what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs like us to conquer a challenge that seems almost impossible from the beginning?
Well, I mean, generally, I think try to make a good product or service, and I mean, it's really that, it's like, you have to say, like, what is a useful thing that you could do? Like, maximize your usefulness. What is if there's, like, what is that product or service that you want to make?
Beef jerky. The best beef jerky.
Okay, great. So you want to make the best beef jerky, just go ahead and do it. And then, you have to sort of just explain to people why it's, well, first of all, you need to make sure it is in fact the best beef jerky. And then you need to then explain to people why it is. And so if you have both the reality and the perception of something being the best beef jerky or whatever the product may be, then I think you'll find it will be very successful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the company is Open Road Jerky. Check us out.
All right, sounds good.
You can't see the video, but they had T-shirts on that said "Open Road Jerky."
I drove down from Luzerne County today, which, by the way, has flipped red by registrations.
Yes.
Nice work, everybody there. Excellent. Yeah. Another fun fact about the northeast part of Pennsylvania. July 3rd, 1778, the largest massacre that ever happened on American soil happened when the colonists, the French, and the natives all fought over that land. And I think it all circles back. It's now, fracking central. There's a lot of resources there, land, and just beautiful local communities. And so I think that is happening at a rate that is inconceivable, really inconceivable. The centralization of power to global elites and far off abstracted places that we can't touch.
Yeah.
What are the ways that we bring that back to local people that can actually have an impact on the ground speaking with some people here.
Yeah.
Do we?
I totally agree.
Do we move the departments around the United States so they're not all in D.C.? How do we get people on the ground empowered
this is a good
to actually
question.
make everyday changes
Very good
in
question.
people's lives?
Well, I super agree with you. So I'm against globalist power. I think we should, like, the UN should not have a lot of power. And he's like, it's like, who voted for them? I didn't vote for them. And it's like, we want power to the people. The power should maximum power to the individual. And so, like, if they're, like, we should not have any sort of international treaties that restrict the freedom of Americans, and we should minimize the amount of federal interference at the state level. So it should be like, so unless it's at the state level, which is something you can influence, then agencies at the federal and the national level should have minimal to zero power over you. Yeah.
Is there a way that we could decentralize data so that consumers own the data? What is the next step towards that? Because I feel like that
Sounds like blockchain to me.
Our sovereignty back.
Well, I guess I'm not sure how to decentralize the data. If the data is at least in multiple places, at least you should be able to, like, locally store the data. I mean, I think individuals should own their own data. I think that's really important. Like, if you want to separate yourself from a social media company, you should be able to take everything with you. So I'm basically in favor of any action that maximizes your freedom and liberty. So, yeah.
Hey, Elon. Tesla shareholder, owner since 2015. I own an S-Plaid. Thank you for making that thing because it's awesome. It's
my
daily driver. It's so much fun.
But my heart is with SpaceX. And so my question is, how will you, with Trump, be able to deregulate so that we can get more launches and get to Mars?
Well, absolutely. That is a major factor for supporting President Trump, is that if the sort of Kamala puppet machine it happens, it's going to be just more and more regulations, and this the slow strangulation by overregulation will continue. But Trump is very enthusiastic about deregulation, which is not to say we don't want any regulation. We just want sensible regulations. And I think if President Trump is elected, we can actually take those actions, and we can cut the strings. Like, I feel like America is like Gulliver, tied down by a million little strings, and we need to cut those strings and free the giant.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for doing everything you're doing.
Welcome.
This is going to be a little long, but I think you're going to get a kick out of it.
Okay.
It's a sad story that turns into something funny you'll probably like.
All right.
So I was mostly a lifelong liberal, sort of like yourself.
Yeah.
Working digital
Lifelong
marketing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in freedom. I believe in empathy. Like, you should care about your fellow human beings. And really they want censorship. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And thank you for buying Twitter and saving free speech and Babylon being too.
Yeah.
That was great, man. Anyway, so I sort of have a case to plead to. Sorry, it's a little long. Anyway, I can't get into the details because there were legal issues and stuff, but years ago I had my life destroyed by crazy woke people because I was injured. I lived in Los Angeles for about 13 years.
Yep.
And when I wanted to seek out, like a court case and stuff, I had someone in the legal system look me straight in the face and tell me, you're not the right kind of white guy. This isn't going to play out well for you. And I immediately was like, what? What?
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't want to swear, but
sure.
Yeah. So, and I was like, is it because I'm from Pennsylvania, or I'm also Ashkenazi, and Jewish or maybe both. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was immediately like, what is happening? And so it put me in a bad spiral, and I like lost, it just went crazy. So it's like, what? Like I've always been a egalitarian person, and right.
I mean, racism in any form is bad, whether it doesn't matter who it's directed towards.
Yeah, and so, and I started, becoming more center right instead of liberal, which is, it's an identity crisis because it's a big change.
Sure. And
working in an industry, it's sort of like you understand in our industries, you feel like an outcast and you don't really know who to talk to, and so it's awkward. So anyway, as a catharsis of sorts, I made this app called Pooper.
Okay.
And so it lets you put animated pooping animals on your text messages.
Okay.
And it's been charting for years, so like since I made it.
It sounds funny.
Yeah, so I think you'd like it just because, sticking pooping animals on like Mark Cuban's, if you're talking to him, you can like stick it on his face or his text message and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so he gets like a gorilla pooping on his text message.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interview with Mark Cuban and, what's her name again? Rachel Maddow. But I couldn't tell which was which.
I gotta write down that timestamp on that. 31:05. That is hysterical. Where's my pen? I can keep it playing. I remember 31:05.
So my question is, would you, because it destroyed me, I was really badly injured. I'm not saying you have to do it. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Would you consider implementing that kind of thing on the Twitter where you could, have a dinosaur or a monkey throwing poop and put it on top of Mark Cuban's, new stupid look that he has?
Well, I mean,
a Business Insider.
About probably 5 million people have now heard about the pooper. Maybe 10 million. There's a lot of people going to watch this. So I think that's some solid publicity right there.
And the version of this I'm watching has had 3.68 million views. So that's pretty good for that guy.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. You're going to help us win Pennsylvania and the entire race.
Yes. Well, I mean, I should say like it's incredibly important that everyone here and everyone listening, watching, that you go and make sure your friends, family, yourself are registered to vote, because the voting registration deadline in Pennsylvania ends at midnight on Monday. So there's only a few days left. So you just got to be a pest and hound everyone to make sure they're registered to vote and the registration is good, because it's a sort of a shot clock ends at midnight on Monday. So fuck, go.
So now you're going to be the head of the Doge. Have you thought about whether AI and blockchain can be used to track every dollar that the government spends, makes people accountable?
Well, I'll let him finish up this question, then I'm going to break for now. Look to be back online later. Either continue with this dialogue that he's having and just kind of have a discussion with it, or I might switch over to the Al Smith dinner and Donald Trump's remarks a little bit later.
To the very last person, and we know exactly who agreed to a $400 toilet seat.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Is that in the
Actually, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, because actually trying to make sense of these incredibly complex laws and regulations where, a law gets passed that's like longer than Lord of the Rings, and no one's actually read the thing, like literally there's not actually one human who's read the whole law, and then that law gets amplified by 100 times by the regulations that follow. I think the only thing that could comprehend that is an AI, basically. So I think that would actually be a good idea, is like saying, okay, AI, just tell us what's actually going on. Where is the money getting spent? What does this law actually mean? And simplify it, really. Yeah, I mean, the amount of government waste that happens is truly staggering. I mean, if you've been exposed to government contracting, it's pretty nutty. It's like beyond. So it's so crazy. It's hard to believe. So yeah. So I think there's basically a lot of room for improvement there, and the net result will be a significant improvement in, like I said, in personal freedom and the standard of living in America. So.
Hi, Mr. Musk. It is such an honor to be here with you. I am actually a former mainstream media journalist. I now teach martial arts in the city of Philadelphia to kids and also in Camden. And I find that the character skills that they need, they get through martial arts, not so much through the education they're getting. And with my journalism background...
That's great. I did martial arts kids too, I think, yeah. And adults too.
Yeah, I will spar you anytime. My question is, I have such like a strong desire for truth that I feel like looking at X, but also coming to events like this is the only way that I can truly feel that I confidently know what you're saying and how you're saying it, which I appreciate. Yes. What do we do for kids so that when they get older, they can see through it? Because what they're learning now, I think, falls short of not just the character, but also their ability to discern their own opinion.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I think teaching kids critical thinking.
Hey, Godric, appreciate it.
They should be taught critical thinking. It's like a mental firewall. You teach kids critical thinking at a young age, and just teach them the types of fallacies that they're likely to encounter, the sort of forms of trickery, like straw man fallacy, or sort of there's like the various ways that that information that like media or people will trick you, and just kind of immunizing kids effectively against that, I think early on would be a very good thing to do. Basically, just teach kids, like, don't be skeptical about what you're told. It may be true, it may not be true, or it may be that often there's a certain percentage chance that it is true, and you want to consider the evidence, weigh the evidence to decide what is the probability that a certain thing is true or not true. And then when you hear more evidence, then you change the probabilities. I mean, generally, like, I believe in the sort of physics approach to thinking, which is that you're always you're always weighing the probabilities that something is true or not true, or that there may be a third explanation, and be very open to new facts changing your mind. So.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I just want to thank everybody that's listened in. Had about 4,000 people come through. A little bit of technical issues that started off, but I'll look to pick up again a little bit later. Again, might do the Al Smith dinner. Listen in. It's Trump going on a bit of a comedy act there. But Godric, TJ, Kimberly, Jimmy, everybody.